Welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to Mysteries from Beyond the Other Dominion. I'm your host, Dr. Franklin Ruehl, and today we're going to investigate dramatic new evidence that ETs visited the Nazca Plains of Peru. Tell you about the woman who could not be photographed. Yes, she could not be photographed. We'll also tell you about the voles, the super voles of Chernobyl, and critique the 1957 horror sci-fi film The Unearthly, starring John Carradine and Myron Healy, and cover other intriguing segments, time of course permitted. But first, did ETs visit the Nazca Plains? Now you probably know about Erich von Daniken's theory that ETs had landing bases in the plains of Nazca in Peru. There are first of all many gargantuan drawings of various creatures such as of a spider and a monkey. There are also many long lines that look like they could be some sort of landing lines for a spacecraft. And then on a rock near the valley, there's this enormous trident that seems to be pointing to the valley, sort of a landing marker for something in the air, such as a flying saucer. Now, recently, an expedition went to Nazca. There haven't been many foreign expeditions to the Nazca Plains in recent years, but this one was headed by Dr. Tony Spofford from Newcastle University in England. And he and his cohorts argue that they found the real reason for those diagrams, those huge diagrams on the ground, that they were all part of some sort of elaborate rain-making ceremony, because this area is very dry. Actually, that theory is not new, but he's found additional drawings and other evidence that he thinks proves it was for rain-making, which is quite possible. But he also said they discovered a cache of deformed skulls, elongated skulls, or what you might call cone-headed skulls, and he was trying to debunk the idea that these might have belonged to ETs that had landed. In fact, he says he's also found padded boards that were used to create the skulls. In other words, these boards were placed on the heads of infants so that as their head grew, it was forced into this elongated pattern. Let me just show you what we're talking about here. These are from the Ica Museum, and these are two of these so-called elongated or cone-headed skulls. Now, I want to stress that Erich von Daniken and other paleovisitologists have never claimed that these skulls were extraterrestrials or even human extraterrestrial hybrids. We've been saying the same thing, that these skulls were created by the Inca priests, that certain select children, actually infants, had these boards placed on their heads so they'd have this elongated configuration. Now that may not sound like an honor to you, and certainly not to me, but that was the idea, that these were special children that were honored this way, and obviously because these are adult skulls, it did not harm them in any way, and they were considered very special. Now the question is, why would these Inca priests try to deform the skulls of infants, of the elite? Because, we claim, the extraterrestrials did land there, that those figures were designed for them, and that the Incas, whether out of fear or respect or awe of the ETs, were trying to emulate them, to honor them, and this is how they did it, by deforming the skulls of certain elite children. And again, these other skulls have been found, and this has always been the contention of the ufologists, not that these belong to ETs. So I think what's happened is that Dr. Tony Spofford has actually found additional confirmation rather than refutation of the theory that ETs explored the Nazca Valley in Egypt. And we actually can go back to ancient Egypt for the same theory. Here we have a relief taken from one of the temples featuring the pharaoh Amenhotep IV and his well-known wife Nefertiti, and there you can see, hopefully, three of their infants. I have them circled in red, and their skulls are in yellow. We'll have to come for a real close zoom to see even one of them. But take my word for it, the skulls of these infants were all deformed. And again, it was in the same way, using padded boards placed on infants' heads so the head would be forced upward. And again, the same idea pertains here, that ETs, as we know, are thought to perhaps have been involved in the construction of the 3 great pyramids. The ancient Egyptians worshipped them either out of fear or respect, and hence tried to have their children look that way. And we're not talking about, no, you don't find deformed skulls among the peasants who were building the pyramids, only among the elite of ancient Egypt. So it suggests this was an honor, that they're emulating these gods from space, i.e. extraterrestrials. So I think that all of the evidence certainly suggests that possibly ETs with deformed skulls did visit our planet, both in ancient Egypt and ancient Peru. And you might ask, well, is it really possible that extraterrestrials would have, say, an elongated skull? Well, you might recall in the past I showed you a cone-headed girl from South Africa. And in her case, because her brain sutures, or skull sutures, had fused prematurely and her brain continued to grow, her head again went up in a cone-like fashion. So we have an example on Earth. Certainly it's possible we could have an entire race or species of cone-headed ETs. And they just may have been the ones who landed, as I say, in ancient Egypt and ancient Peru. But the evidence certainly supports this hypothesis to a greater degree than it does a rain-making ceremony conducted on the plains of Nazca, at least in my humble opinion. Now, until next time, may the power of the cosmos be with you. Yes, yes, yes.